Hi everyone, beautiful sunny day. Decided to take it outside and answer some questions. There've been more people asking questions, and of course I've fallen behind. The number of questions that people are asking kind of outweigh my ability to answer them, but I'm trying. And keep sending the questions coming. I'll eventually get through them. So this question was sent by Dorothy in Portland, Oregon. And she says, why don't you offer fair trade certified teas? Well, that's a good question. First of all, a little background on fair trade. I haven't read up massively on it. It was created for, migrant workers in, places like India and Central America, coffee plantations and situations like that, to protect the workers again. And I know that in India, for example, the amount that tea pickers make is barely enough to even survive, much less eat. In Yunnan, and in China in general, most of the tea is actually picked, and especially in Yunnan, is actually picked by family-run. Their ancestral lands. They've got tea trees, especially the ones that we deal with, old tea trees and small plantations and things like that are run by villages. And in a lot of cases, the money that's being made when they sell the tea is being made directly by the people who pick it. They're actually the people who pick it, and they process it and they sell it, and they're able to make the, however much money the market will bear, which has been increasing massively over the last 10 years. I mean, I would say the average income of a tea grower in Yunnan now is far outweighs that of any other agricultural agricultural industry, if you want to call it that. So I think that the tea farmers have actually done pretty well. I mean, they're not rolling in the dough. Well, they are in some places, Laobanjiang and some of these other famous villages where, tea is anywhere from a few $100s a kilo, a couple $100s a kilo, up to $1,000 or even $2,000 a kilo in Laobanjiang, where people are building palatial mansions and drive BMWs and all that kind of thing. Of course, that's not the norm, but the norm is somewhere in between, extreme wealth and extreme poverty. And I just, there isn't this extreme poverty going on. And the people that sell the tea, there's a lot of competition from other buyers to buy their tea. So in some cases, we're actually lucky to be able to get the tea because we could be beat out by other, and it often happens, we're beat out by other buyers who want to buy the tea. So in this situation, the tea growers and these village cooperatives that produce tea are really coming away pretty well. So I don't think there's just this there's definitely no real poverty. I think there was 10, 15 years ago in a lot of these areas that were undeveloped, but that's really changed. So I feel good about the situation in Yunnan and the tea growers especially. They're doing well, and they're continually improving their lives because they have access to the internet, and they have access to more and more opportunities to sell their tea, and we're part of that too. We really like to support families, especially in small village cooperatives. So, because that's really where the quality tea is, So, anyways, hope that answers your question. And the second part of your question I'll answer now. What are you doing to improve the lives of those tea growers whose tea leaves you sell? That's a good question. First of all, I want to say that we have a huge amount of respect for the people who that we work with, and the people who grow the tea. It's not easy work, and it requires a lot of skill, and it requires a lot of dedication, and it requires, I think a level of acceptance that this is, something that they're willing to do. In a lot of cases, it's not the only income that families have, but just one income. They may have some old tea trees, and maybe they're their son, maybe they run a restaurant in the village, or maybe their son drives a truck, or um, maybe they have a guest house, or whatever. So a lot of things are like that because they're um, really small operations. Um, but I think the fact that people are willing to do something like growing tea and picking tea, and I have a huge amount of respect for people who do that, and I really enjoy working with them. Um, we it's one of the reasons why year after year we end up working with a lot of the same people. They kind of know what we want. We know what we're getting. We know the tea because we've been dealing in that tea, and we know how it ages, and we've been working with that person, and we can trust them. And year after year, they're giving us tea that's good quality, that people are enjoying, that we're getting good feedback from, and we're putting money in their pockets and supporting them and what they do. And I think that that, like, again, like I said before with the fair trade thing, is that they have plenty of opportunities to sell tea to other people, and they choose to sell to us. We're not, well, I wouldn't say we're not picky about the price. We're, if the price is fair and we've worked with that person before, and we know that they're you know they're not going to jerk us around, and they're not going to use pesticides, and they're going to produce teas, and we like the tea, then we'll just keep working with them, and things only get better from there. And that's one of the reasons why year after year, um, you'll see kind of a trend that we're dealing with certain villages or certain areas. Those are actually, in most cases, one or two families that we work with. That in some cases, one family could only maybe produce 15 kilos or 20 kilos a harvest. So maybe we want to get 40 or 50 kilos. Well, their neighbor, and often what happens is that their neighbor grows the tea and picks it, but then maybe the other neighbor or somebody close by is the person who does the processing, because that's a skill that requires a fair amount of training, and not everybody does it well. So often what happens is that these people will make deals and say, hey, I'll process the tea, and I know this company, and we're going to send them samples, and let's give me your fresh leaf, and I'll process it. So that's kind of a lot of things how they work. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, again, they're not obligated to sell us the tea, and when it comes down to it, we're not obligated to purchase the tea. We would like to, but if it's got serious problems, if it's been processed poorly, or this doesn't happen very much anymore, but that if it tests, I mean, it has pesticides in it, then we'll talk to them. In a couple cases that we had in 2013, we were able to send back the tea to one person, and another one they wouldn't take it back, and we just sat on it, and eventually we hauled it out, and you know put it on the fire, on the dust heap in the area where we keep a tea in Kunming. So that was a bummer. But that's the thing about relationships with people, is that once we have those good relationships with these people, you know, we don't usually have surprises when we order the tea, and then we take it and we have it tested. So there is a little bit of risk there, but I'm willing to take it. And cultivating these really positive relationships with with growers has really helped. The other thing that we've done is we've invested in two village-run enterprises. One of them in Mongku and another in Jingu. The one in Mongku, our friend there, came to us in 2011. He managed a tea factory in Kunming, managed it, so he managed the pressings, and we knew him, and he was from Mongku area, and he said, I want to go back home. I want to lease some of this land. I want to work with the villagers in the area, where I grew up, where he's from, in Dahusai and Xiaohusai, in that area. And I gave him $15,000 straight up, because I knew the guy, I trusted him, and I knew at the very least I was going to get some tea out of it. and he went home, and I think he had a couple of other people that were able to invest in his new thing, and now he's thriving, and his teas are the processing that he's doing in the teas, and there's no pesticides being used, and that was from the get go. That was he and I talked about that, and I said, if you do that, you will have a future with not only with me, but in general in the market. And so he really took that to heart, and he's thriving, and now he's met a Japanese buyer who comes and buys some of his teas as well too, and that's great. I don't have any exclusive, and he was able to, I was able to get my investment back in the form of great teas, and I have a friend for life. So um, that's just one of the ways that's one of the ways that I like to do things, and I think with the business that you know you can really kind of you know I think money interconnects people, and I think that there's an ethical way to do it. It's um, but I think I also have expectations of people that I work with too, and I think that expecting that they don't use pesticides, and expecting that they process the tea well, and expecting that they deliver the tea that I've sampled, um, makes them more ethical, makes their tea better, makes they're always improving their expertise, and that transforms itself into additional benefits for them and the people that they work with, myself and others included. So um, I'm really proud of that. We also work with somebody in Jingu that does a similar thing in a couple of villages. They work with villagers there to gather the teas, the fresh leaf, and they process it, and they process it well, and and they tell people, no spray because we're testing, and they get feedback. We had one come back with just a trace amount, and we notified our contact, and they talked with the villagers, and then the next season we were able to purchase their tea because they didn't use any pesticides at all. So and I thank my customers for their support, and hope that we can kind of gradually just extend this, and that's about it. I'm going to answer some more questions in another part. This video is now 13 minutes, so I welcome your questions if you need any clarification, but I just, I follow the kind of the Chinese model of business, which is the traditional model, which is every party should benefit. If only one party benefits, it's not going to work, and it's not sustainable. So that's everybody's got to benefit, everybody's got to be happy. There's no coercion, there's no misery. Yeah, I think that it's a lot of good energy goes into the teas all around from the start to the finish, and yeah, that's about it. Hope you're all having a nice day.